Yeah. Alexander Hayek is still there, and Team Flanders Balois is also still there, despite the fact they still have Sibadiva up the road. We'll see what they get out of this stage, the boys in yellow and blue. They're going to get the mountains jersey, we know that, because there's Sibadiva there, and he is the leader in that classification. He'll be wearing that tomorrow as well, but that would be quite the day after all that sitting in and spoiling they've been doing at the front if they manage to get the win. And it's not inconceivable either. It would be a bit of a surprise, but someone like Jules Hesters or Lindsay de Wilde popping up and boxing out of a sprint and taking the win, or taking a podium finish, it's not impossible by any means. But they are in pretty decent company. We're into the final 10k of this, the opening stage of the Tour de Hungary, with me, Jez Cox, and Michael Hutchinson, as we bring you this fantastic week of racing that the organisers see as the sprinters warm up to the Tour de France, whilst the Giro d'Italia is on, whilst the 4 days of Dunkirk is on, which also has a good smattering of sprint stages and sprinters within it too, of course. But we've got a fair old collection here with Dylan Groenewegen, Juan Sebastian Milano, Tim Teutenberg, Phil Bauhaus, Sam Welsford, and others. Another one we've not mentioned so far, who I reckon will be a good pick all week because he's in great form, Manuel Peñalva at Polti Visit Malta as well. Very, very consistent this year in sprints, and over the last couple of seasons too, Peñalva as well. So look out for the green sleeves, white jersey of Polti Visit Malta.
And the gap really tumbling now. This is Durbridge on the front, looking like he means business. He's going to sell as a time trial pedigree behind Luke Durbridge, low on the bike, forearms horizontal to the ground. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and maybe his early requests to get the front of the peloton to slow down a bit means he also has a good sense of timing about when to close this down, because this is almost textbook at the moment, isn't it? If they're to catch those two remaining riders from the breakaway, doing it with about 7k to go or something like that, it's just about the right time. They're not having to then worry about closing down late attacks, although they might yet come. It's all about just getting ready for that final lead out for Sam Welsford. Of course, when I say Sam Welsford, I actually mean Dylan Groenewegen, but fellow Australian. You never know. It's the back of the peloton. Got a look at the British rider Nathan Smith, riding for Novo Nordisk, one of two Brits, riding for the boys in green and blue. Sibadivert and Matteo Ambrosini, the two remaining riders from the original break of four that had at one point about 2.5 minutes. They never had more than that, and they've been hovering around the 2-minute mark for an awfully long time. Sibadivert out there to make sure he got the King of the Mountains jersey, and Ambrosini out there to see whatever he can get out at this stage and how deep he can survive. He was the last attacker after the final intermediate sprint point, and at the moment not too much sign of the rest of the Jacob Alula boys. Just Durbridge on the front, and still Flanders Balois. They're getting the perfect ride at the moment. Hutch really sitting on the back of that, the boys in yellow and blue.
Yeah, it's textbook. It's just there are other teams, Cairn Pharma, and it was coming up to the front. There's just a few other teams beginning to try and sort themselves out into this last 5 or 6 kilometres. It's a little bit more technical. We've got a few corners a little bit like the one we've just seen. It generally is pretty wide. Clearly we're not seeing an awful lot of, we're not seeing any barriering out here. They haven't got the barriers all the way out here, so it's going to be, might be one or two slightly sketchy corners on the way in. There's quite a lot of road furniture, quite a lot of traffic islands, but we will see.
Yeah, they're back onto the main road now. Effectively, this is the tail end of the road they've really been following all day as well. It's the B3, for those of you who know your Hungarian roads, it links up to. These two now know it's over. Now we see the orange jerseys coming up of Euskaltel Euskadi, probably working for Andoni Lopez, the best of their sprinters. Keep an eye on the boys in orange to see if they can get him in good position. Crash here as well for Frederick Mondal. Dane, that's a hard one as well, Hutch, by the look of it.
Oh, that's painful. Quite badly torn up. Doing quite a lot of work early in the stage. He deserves better than that.
Yeah. Now that's one more rider down for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. This is the first of the right-handers. It has a fairly tight left-hander into the kind of industrial park on the outskirts of Gur, where our stage finishes and not too far away from where the river comes into town as well. There's the left-hander. They have another tight right-hander in a minute. It's a kind of an industrial run-in with a couple of lefts and rights to bring us into the east end of Gur. And just like that, Flanders Balois now start their lead out. What can they get out of this day?
And Bahrain Victorious suddenly in behind them, having been invisible all day.
Yep, and we can see Phil Bauhaus sitting third wheel of those Bahrain Victorious riders as well. Where is Dylan Groenewegen? Where is the Dutch champion? I can't see him. No, he's not, is he?
He's there. He's just coming at the bottom of the shot.
So far,
he's 12th or 13th wheel, maybe. A little further back. Somewhere around about there.
Right, that's the sweeping right-hander. There are now 2 more bends before the finish as well. We're inside the final 5K. Going around the Nadovaras district of Gur into the city centre. There is Dylan Groenewegen in the Dutch champions jersey back there. We can see as well Alex Kirch, the big tall rider for Lidl Trek, and he has Tim Teutenberg just in behind him as well, the 22-year-old German for Lidl Trek. He'll be their sprint option, I'm absolutely certain.
I'm wondering if Flanders Balois have got there a little bit soon.
Well, they've been there the whole stage, haven't they? They've been waiting to do something the whole stage. They
haven't been looking at fresh air. They've been looking at the back of Jayco and Red Bull for the most part. And I'm wondering if they're just going to get swamped in here.
And now, Bahrain Victorious take over. Maybe they've taken over too soon as well. Matteo Malucelli is up near the front, maybe a little bit too soon too. Look out for the Astana boys. There are plenty of them up there, but they're not quite in order yet, Hutch, by the looks of it.
It's a 3-kilometre roller course applies in this stage as well, so there will be 1 or 2 of the GC riders keeping an eye on that, which would include XCS Astana, who are clearly up there for Malucelli, but they'll also be quite pleased to get Higuita and Lopez through 3 kilometres safe as well.
Yep. In case anyone's new to watching cycling, just to explain what that means, if there's a mechanical or a crash in that last 3K, they get the same time as the group they entered the final 3 kilometres with as well. So then don't have to contest the front end and worry about things too much as well. Hopefully the idea being making these finishes a little bit safer. We have got definitely a big bubble of sprint favourites and lead-out riders at the front, and then others just trying to stay out of the way behind it as well. Looks like Max Walscheid and Elmar Reinders are ready for Jayco Alula. I think they're a little bit detached, though, from where Dylan Groenewegen is. And Groenewegen does have a bit of a history of doing this, Hutch, has to be said, of just losing his team a little bit in some of these finishes. And he's not yet on the back of Max Walscheid. I think Walscheid might today, by the looks of it, be last man for Jayco Alula, but he's not got Groenewegen quite yet in position.
Yeah, he does quite often drift off, and it's part of the art of being a sprinter is just whether you can hang on to the team. If you lose the team, can you surf the wheels? And the really classy sprinters can kind of do it either way. Think about the way Mark Cavendish used to be able to surf the wheels in the final.
Well, 1 year ago, we were seeing Mark Cavendish on our very screen in this race as he closed in on his tilt to that 35th Tour de France stage win. It was Sam Welsford, though, who got the better of him and others in this opening stage. He's here today, although I've not seen Sam Welsford at all yet, Hutch, have you?
Nope, I haven't laid eyes upon him.
Not at all. And we assume he's in there. We've not heard that he isn't.
Well,
certainly his team are working like he is.
For him, yeah.
Yep.
There's also Danny Van Poppel, who they've got a good plan B as well, but I mean, they'll clearly be racing this stage for Sam Welsford, unless there's something we don't know about.
Right. Juan Sebastian Molano is at the back of this team of UAE team riders. It has to be said, he also likes a long, straight sprint too, Molano. He's got a wonderful, snappy jump on him, though, too. Has Rui Oliveira had a shorts change? I think Rui Oliveira's in that string, and he looks slightly better dressed, so he may have actually gone and had a change. He had a big crash. Last 1,500 metres. Don't forget, we've got that right-hander with about 700 metres to go. Big sweep in the middle of the peloton there as one of the Polti riders drops off. Have they got Manuel Peñalva into good position? Let's have a look. Here comes Alex Kirch of Lidl Trek trying to get in amongst things. Jayco Alula have got it right, though, because at the moment, Dylan Groenewegen is on the back wheel of Luca Mesquez, by the look of it at the moment, in the purple.
And it's absolutely on here. You can see the way the bunch is stretched out. They went over a little bit of a flyover there, down the far side. They're going at least 60 kilometres an hour here. This is suddenly very quick. They've got a little bit of a tailwind here too. UAE
Team Emirates still look like they have control. It is Rui Oliveira who's still on the front. Now come XDS Astana up the inside with Malucelli. We need the shot to change to the front. Here we go.
500 metres to go.
Yes, it is. It's Oliveira now who takes over. Oliveira takes over, and then now comes Danny Van Poppel by the looks of it. That looks like Van Poppel who's broken at the front, but where is Welsford at this stage? It's Van Poppel who leads into the final right-hander. Then they line up the last, 600 metres towards the finish here as well. This is Danny Van Poppel, if I'm not mistaken, who's now going clear at the front by himself. It is Van Poppel. Van Poppel might actually get the win here. He's going to look back. Their brilliant plan B for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe is going to come good. Danny Van Poppel takes the opening stage. Michael Hutchinson mentioned that he might be their perfect plan B, but it turned out he was a perfect plan A. Right from under the very noses of all the best sprinters, Danny Van Poppel has taken it for himself.
He made the most of an opportunity there, just sort of a little bit of a gap opened up, and he just drove it home. A great plan B for the team. I didn't ever see where Sam Welsford went in the middle of that.
He's on our shot right now. He's on our shot right now.
Yeah. But he wasn't contesting the final with Danny Van Poppel. That was a great result. I enjoyed that.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You said it though. He's such a useful plan B that actually, dare I say it, far more often he should probably just be plan A.
I think they were just coming into that final. There were a few of the teams just started looking at each other. There were a few sprinters who dropped off the wheel. There was suddenly, we'd gone from dropping over that flyover at 60 kilometres an hour. Suddenly there were people just beginning to look around a bit.
Let's see if we can hear them. Welsford's given him the low 5, but then moves off fairly swiftly. I don't think Welsford didn't look overly happy with that. He's probably reflecting on his own performance there. Hey, Hutch, maybe that was the plan all along.
Could have been. I'm not sure. I mean, if it was plan A, he got there quite early because he was on the front at 500 metres to go, or if not, very close. We'll see in the overhead here.
Yeah, so I think it might be Gleb Saritza at the moment, third wheel. He's got Groenewegen just behind him. Tim Tuitenberg is also just there behind Groenewegen. Groenewegen was perfectly placed there. That was the moment, out of the corner. Actually, it was when Danny Van Poppel went, No, the UAE rider, I didn't quite see who that was. He got in the way of the gap being closed. It was Tuitenberg coming up as close as he could behind, and Groenewegen, but they couldn't do anything about it. It was too late. That gap was opened up with what, Hutch, like 600, 500 to go?
Oh, a little bit less, but it was the UAE rider just sort of sat up, having realised he hadn't got his sprinter with him. He just sat up, and everybody, just sort of took the bunch backwards effectively, because everyone was sitting on him.
That might have been Covey, I couldn't quite see who it was. It was one of their slightly taller, fast finishers. I think it was Alessandro Covey, who once he'd sat up, then left the gap. There he goes, he's looking round. I think that's Covey. And then by that point, I wonder, actually, whether Danny Van Poppel at that point thought he was still doing the lead-out for Welsford. He doesn't look back, though, Hutch. Now he looks back. I
think he was waiting for Welsford to come past him, and they looked back. So where is he? He's got to come. What are you doing? Come past. You're not. Where are you? Because he was on his wheel, I think, going into that right-hander, or not just before that right-hander, not on his right-hander.
Yeah. Tim Tuitenberg there has taken a fine second place by the looks of it as well, just ahead of Dylan Groenewegen, and the Hungarian team, United Shipping, have got a rider, I think, in the top 10 there, and I think that might be Mihailo Stojlic. We'll check that once we see the final result. Definitely United Shipping rider right up alongside them on the line. Well, very nice to see a man who so often gives his best for others getting another win as well. Let me see. That is win number, I'll tell you, for Danny Van Poppel. You might have found this already, Hutch, in his career. Oh, my computer's decided to go. Win number 21.
Win number
rather
21.
Appropriately. Professional win number 21. There have been plenty of other wins around it as well as a youngster. 31 years of age. The man, of course, who comes from an extremely illustrious lineage of cycling talent. His dad, of course, Jean-Paul Van Poppel, one of the great sprinters of yesteryear. There is the top 10. Danny Van Poppel taking the win ahead of Tim Tuitenberg and Dylan Groenewegen. Mark Bristenga, Matteo Malucelli, and it was Mihailo Stojlic in 6th place.